희열을 느끼는 거죠. 여기서 베이스가 느껴져요. 뼛속까지 울리는 베이스.
Burning is a quiet and unnerving Korean film from 2018. Lee is a delivery guy earning low wages, and in a really understated long take, he meets Shin Hae-mi doing a low-end modeling gig outside of a cell phone store. It's not quite meet cute, not quite meet squalid, but it's nonetheless a meeting that becomes the center of this movie. After they meet, Shin Hae-mi goes off to Africa. She asks Lee to take care of her cat while she's gone. A cat that he doesn't quite manage to meet, despite the fact that it lives in a teeny tiny bedroom-sized apartment that's just barely big enough to fit a double bed and a kitchen sink. And somehow he doesn't meet the cat. Lee kind of develops a weird preoccupation with Shin Hae-mi. Not an obsession, just kind of a preoccupation, I guess kind of a crush. So for the first half of the movie, in a really unspectacular way, you kind of get totally grounded in this beautiful, simple reality. So much of the first half is just beautifully slow-paced, almost kitchen sink drama. It's not high-level drama, it just captures this world and all of the small drama and small intrigue of this guy's life.
아버지 묘원에 가서 잘 말씀드려봐. 그 성질 죽이고 반성문 좀 쓰시라고.
And you get a chance to really live in that and soak in that. If this movie ended there, if it was just that, that would be a great movie. But there's more. Shin Hae-mi comes back from Africa, bringing with her a rich, handsome, successful boyfriend. And this adds a whole new edge to the kind of mystery of Shin Hae-mi. She's a mystery to solve. But so is her new boyfriend. He's a strange, offbeat character in his own right.
아주 어렸을 땐 그랬을 텐데 내 기억 속에서는 난 눈물을 흘려본 적이 없어요.
For a Korean movie, especially in the second half, this movie feels really, really American. Despite how grounded the movie is, it's actually really deeply saturated with mood. This movie has very, very clear influences from noir films, but really much more neo-noir films from the 70s. And Lee, the main character, is the perfect opaque detective character whose inner world is something you don't really have a firm grasp on. You don't really have access to what's going on in his head, but nonetheless, that inner turmoil is the center of this movie. And his fascination with Shin Hae-mi is just more and more justified by every moment that she spends on screen, because she's a really, really compelling character to watch.
이게 그레이트 언거의 춤이에요. 삶의 의미를 구하는 춤.
She's really powerfully driven by these tidal waves of emotion, and she's almost a victim to it as well.
그냥 아예 없었던 것처럼 사라질 수 있었으면 좋겠다.
If you like films like Clute and The Conversation, then I think this movie is right up your alley. It's totally in that ballpark of movies. Despite the fact that you're not totally sure if there's any crime that's actually happened as you're watching it, it's built out of the same pieces. For me, as somebody who lives outside of the US, but is really influenced deeply by movies from the US, I find this all the more fascinating. I read a pretty good article about how one of the reasons this movie might not have been nominated for that many American awards. Might be the fact that it's not quite American enough. It's a little bit American, but not quite American enough. It's a really, really Korean movie. And if you're anything like me, that's just a selling point. That's just all the more reason to want to see this movie, to love this movie. Shin Hae-mi and the two guys are sitting on these plastic chairs outside of Lee's father's house, and they smoke some stuff. And Shin Hae-mi goes off and dances in the sunset. This dance that she learned in Africa. Drug-influenced scenes like this in movies are normally kind of wacky and visual, but this scene is not that. It takes you there without quite losing its groundedness. It's such a high point of this movie, but it comes so quietly and so naturally. When you're tuned into this movie's slow rhythm, and then it takes these subtly surreal left turns, it's really effective. I've called a few movies hypnotic on this channel before. I might have used it one too many times, but I don't think any of those movies lives up to that word in quite the same way as Burning. What a thing this movie was to find. Honestly, I did not expect to have a movie experience like that when I sat down to watch this. It's definitely going to stay in my memory for a really long time, partly as an example of two things, a really good example of two things. First is a movie that is showing love to other films, but in a creative way where it's not just referencing those things. And the other thing, the second thing, is a movie that captures something fascinating about the culture that it's set in. And somebody who wants to see South African movies do well, that's something that I think about, that I want South African movies to do that. So, you know, South African filmmakers, if you're watching this, this is how you do it. If you want to make great South African films, but you're deeply influenced by American cinema, this is your blueprint. This is how you do it. Watch this movie.